Hey guys, welcome to our new RPA series where our team at Confiance will discuss automation as it's happening today in organizations, as well as practical challenges that are faced during implementation. I'm Mike Bush, and joining me is Navin Maganti. And Navin, the Center of Excellence is a big part of the current RPA landscape or the hyperautomation effort. They used to and it's important to establish that as a foundation in organizations. So let's just begin with the first question and ask, what is hyperautomation?
Thanks, Mike. Glad we can have this conversation today. Uh, I think over the last maybe 5 to 7 years, we've seen different forms of automation come to play. We've talked about robotic process automation, then we've gone to intelligent automation, and now the term that's being floated around is hyper automation. Uh, so really, I think there are a lot of organizations defining what hyper automation is. So I think my perspective really, instead of defining it, is to say what does it consist of and what capabilities does it hyperautomation actually deliver. So if you look back, RPA has come a long way and the adoption has grown across all organizations and the federal government itself. But as organizations have implemented it, they have realized that there may be certain shortcomings, and there are some really great things about RPA, the challenges it solves. Uh, while at the same time, in different parts of the organization, different groups have been playing around with other automation technologies, whether it be machine learning, artificial intelligence, process discovery, process analytics. And now there's a realization that in order to solve the automation agenda that the enterprise has, you need to bring all these capabilities together and deploy them at scale, especially in the current environment as we see it's happening. So that's what hyperautomation is to me. It's really an amalgamation and coming together of all these technologies and capabilities to help the enterprise deliver the automation agenda. So some of the key components that I mentioned earlier, process discovery. If you think about it in the past, or even in the last few years, we've been doing process discovery. We try to understand what the current process is. We try to capture that. We try to analyze that and then find out if it's a good automation candidate. Process discovery is really a technology tool that will help you discover these processes in an automated form and speed up which processes need to be automated and help optimize. The same thing comes to machine learning or artificial intelligence. Uh, RPA can do a great job at repetitive work, but or routine tasks. But when we want to combine it with different types of processes that make them intersect with all this routine work, or we do some kind of intelligent document processing, we need these machine learning or artificial intelligence capabilities to complement it. And thirdly, there are analytics now that need to come into play that say, okay, which processes are running well? What are the strategic, operational, or tactical measures that we should consider and perform a full life cycle of this automation? So I think when you bring all these capabilities together, that's really what hyperautomation is, and moving the agenda beyond just the RPA space.
Okay, great. So do you have a perspective on where organizations currently are as regard to hyperautomation? Are they evaluating or implementing it or using one or all of these capabilities currently?
Yeah, so I'd say from our vantage point or my lens itself, I would see that there are organizations spread doing multiple things, but I would still say they're early days. We may be at the days where we're scaling RPA and combining it with some intelligent automation. And there are pockets of organizations which are ready to do process discovery or using machine learning to solve specific problems that they have, whether they may be in the pharmaceutical industry or in the government itself or insurance industry to do intelligent document processing. But I still think it's really early days of RPA where people have built a couple of bots or X number of bots across one or two departments, and they're looking to scale it, but are realizing that they need to add these capabilities and looking into it. The other driving factor, though, of course, is all the software vendors that have come into play over the last maybe 5 or 7 years and have gained prominence. The RPA vendors or automation vendors are starting to add these capabilities and bringing to market these technologies and educating their customers and prospects. So again, early adoption and scale happening, but we may be a longer way from hyperautomation. Not to say that it will not come fast, but it's not that everyone's deploying hyperautomation today.
All right. So let's get back to talking about the center of excellence or the competency centers, which a lot of organizations seem to be heading in. Why do you feel they think it's so important to establish that as a foundation?
Yeah, so when it comes to the center of excellence, right, everything that I'm seeing and doing is, even if when we go beyond the early days of proof of concepts or initial stepping stones into automation, and people start to get results, they see that there's a lot of interest coming across in the organization, and the results that they're seeing seem to be better than what they anticipated. So that sets up a need for a center of excellence or some semblance of an organization that can help scale, educate, and drive the automation agenda and not leave it to disparate organizations. And the reason that it becomes important is, one, it's a new capability and it's evolving really fast. So you need some kind of centralized approach, or at least semi-centralized approach that says, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to focus on? What skills are we going to build? And how are we going to drive this agenda through the organization? The second thing is there's a two combinations of demand creation and actually fulfilling the demand. And that's something else that having a centralized organization or center of excellence can support. The third thing I would say is there are a lot of trade-offs because different departments want to automate different things, and there's a combination of resiliency, speed, accuracy all comes into play. And having a center of excellence, or at least an organization that performs as such, helps us manage that conversation within the organization.
Okay. Now, is there a way to avoid COEs becoming a roadblock?
Yeah, there is, and I think that's kind of, I would say, our recommendation or my perspective is that this can become large and unwieldy in organizations if they go quickly out of hand, especially with the amount of interest that's there in automation. So I look at it more of as a practical approach and really trying to implement a COE quarter by quarter. That means setting up some capabilities um, that actually grow over time depending on how the adoption is actually realized within the organization. So I would look at it and say, at the baseline, you want to have a COE that talks about what skills are required, what organization is involved, how we're going to govern this automation program, and what may be an implementation approach for an enterprise. And if you are able to roll that out or establish that capability, then we can move on to things around quality management, service delivery, establishing an automation framework that says, well, how are we going to look at our business cases, which are the right automation candidates beyond just looking at the right processes for automation, and establishing more of an enterprise, I'd say, business case approach to it. And that could evolve over time. So it's really a thing about establishing a baseline, then scaling the COE as the demand grows, and then evolving it to see what's best fits the organization. And that may end up take different forms. So to me, the key thing is not spending too much time on the methodology of the COE, just enough to solve the problem, deliver the value, and worry about what shape or structure it takes as the organization evolves.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you have anything further to add as far as hyperautomation or COE before we close out?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is that I've been doing this process and process automation work for the last 15 plus years, and some of these tools or capabilities seem like we've tried them before with mixed results. Some some not so great results. So uh, I think this time around, it seems like the technologies have scaled up and can solve different problems that maybe the earlier technologies were not able to solve. And also, there seems to be a driver right now to get on the automation board or the automation agenda. So I think realizing some of the flaws of the process automation work from the past 15 years and taking some of those learnings would really help establish the hyper automation agenda and make sure that we're more successful than not moving forward.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Navin, for that thorough report on hyperautomation and Center of Excellence. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're going to cut it here, and we'll hope you join us for the next one. We're going to have another webisode or episode in the series, and we're going to take a more technical look at building and scaling infrastructure development. So hope you join us for that, and thanks again.